On this week's show, we give our reactions on WrestleMania 30, the Raw after, Bryan becoming champion, the streak coming to an end, Cesaro, Paige, Adam Rose, and more on this edition of Byte That. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 33 of Byte That, the semi-somewhat maybe international professional wrestling podcast where we talk about the ups and downs of that which we love, which is the world of professional wrestling. My name is Juan Velos. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and as always, I am joined by the weekly team, which consists of two fine gentlemen. First, from Boston, Massachusetts, Mr. Ryan McNulty. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Juan. We have so much to talk about, I'm just not going to say anything else and let you move on.
Definitely. We have way too much, which is why we also have the other sir here from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, Mr. Keith Poshik.
I'm not going to be as selfless as Ryan. I'm going to take a moment here and talk about my return from the dead, because that's what you made me sound like, or made it sound like last week. I died. So I'm like the Undertaker. I came back from the dead, risen, boom, I'm here, let's record a podcast.
Well, welcome back, sir. We missed you. We love you. We didn't even notice you were gone.
Thank you.
But before we go on into the deep and dirty talk about WrestleMania 30 and Raw, we got to thank you because thanks to your support from last week's episode, we broke our count, guys. We got over 600 downloads on iTunes. So if you like the show, remember to tell a friend. Leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher because that really helps us out a lot. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast, where we have video reviews, exclusive clips, and countdowns, as well as our weekly episodes, and a little something extra we're going to be adding pretty soon. And if you want to chat with us, find us on Twitter, @ByteThatCast. Now, this is going to be probably the most powerful, jam-packed episode we have ever had. We are coming off of WrestleMania 30 and an outstanding Raw. We have so many things to talk about, so in this episode, we're going to be dividing it into the first half will be WrestleMania 30, and then we'll be talking about Raw and everything else that happens between then. So going right down to the nitty-gritty, WrestleMania 30, it happened this Sunday, and I just immediately want to get your feedback because I haven't talked to you guys since before WrestleMania. So how did you feel when that show came to an amazing close? Only talk about the feeling, not about a match in particular.
Overall, I think it was one of the best WrestleManias of all time. I know we're just coming off of it and it's still pretty fresh, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's up there with like 17 and 28, even better than 28 in my opinion. It's going to be one of the WrestleManias that feels most important as we look back at it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, definitely the best WrestleMania in many years. In recent memory, it was top to bottom, very solid. There was not a lot of lulls in this show, so it was just excellent.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the three of us have at one point or another gone to WrestleMania, and a lot of people talk about the WrestleMania experience when you're live. Makes you enjoy everything, but even when we went, there were a lot of things that I was certainly disappointed in by. But with this WrestleMania, at no point did I feel like I was watching another pay-per-view. I was watching it alongside my fiance, and a lot of times I told her straight up, like, it feels like WrestleMania. I was so happy about that because I think for the past couple ones, it just felt like a slightly bigger pay-per-view than the rest, but no. This was the show where you could tell everything was working up to this point. Now, do you agree with that? It felt like this was the conclusion of everything that's been happening.
Yeah, it definitely had that big time feel to it. The stage, the whole presence of everything was awesome. I really liked that they sort of had the Minitron actually on the ramp itself, and the whole spectacle of it all. It really did feel.
No one will get that.
It really did feel like a big time WrestleMania. It didn't feel like, oh, I'm watching, this is a great Extreme Rules, guys. So yeah, I totally agree. That big time feel, it went a long way.
No, and you were talking about the stage. I think that it was great because it was simple. When it was revealed, a couple of people were complaining, oh, it's just the big WrestleMania text. We've seen that before. But once the show actually started and you saw what that converted to, so like each act would turn into a thing. Like you mentioned, there was video animation on the ramp. It was just a great feel. It felt like an amazing show. And I think a big part of what helped also is that it didn't start in daytime. the past couple of WrestleManias, it started in daytime, it slowly fades out. Plus, we had those big palm trees or something, like things that would interfere, and you had none of that. So I think that it's just all of these little changes really made WrestleMania stand out. Especially, we got to talk about the beginning. I mean, what a way to start WrestleMania off. We have Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and The Rock in the first segment. Do you think that was the proper way of starting out the show?
Totally. It really made it feel big. When Hulk Hogan had his run back in the day, did him and Stone Cold Steve Austin ever interact? Was that the first time that's ever happened?
Hogan and Steve Austin? They interacted.
I know Hogan and The Rock
briefly.
interacted a lot.
They actually, I think, the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania 18, there was like a tag match between the NWO and The Rock and Steve Austin.
Right.
And there was about
right.
30 seconds where they were in the same ring together, just kind of trading blows. And it's like they didn't even make it out to be the big moment that it could have been. They didn't even have a stare down or anything. It was just business as usual. But that was really their only interaction.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it was a great start to WrestleMania. It had everything. It had Stone Cold do his bit. It had a Hogan botch. Whether we were in the Super or the Silver Dome, it was a big moment.
Yeah, but it was nice because they were just having fun. And I think that we've been talking a lot about that WrestleMania was missing that, so we got that right at the beginning. That being said, I think everybody wants to talk about one thing. Now, the three of us haven't brought this up, and the reason I'm doing this right now is because I don't think ever in professional wrestling, before or after this event, we will ever be able to talk about something of this magnitude. Of course, I am talking about the streak. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. I don't even know where to begin this conversation because before WrestleMania, you can check out the previous episode, not one of us made even the slightest hint or reference to the fact that Brock Lesnar was going to win. On the contrary, we all threw completely Brock Lesnar out of the possibility of winning and just guaranteed the victory to The Undertaker, yet we got the opposite. So Ryan, I want to take it to you first. When that referee's hand hit the mat, in what was the most shocking moment in professional wrestling history, what was your immediate reaction?
You could ask some of my friends who saw my face when that moment happened. I just had my hands on top of my head and my mouth was just open, and I did not believe what I just saw. And I'll also say, this has to be the most wrong I ever was about a prediction in wrestling. I was joking around about how they have these betting odds for WrestleMania that I should just put my life savings on The Undertaker. And I'm really glad I didn't do that because I would be broke right now.
Good call.
It's just... The circumstances of this are so unique that I don't think there will ever be a moment as shocking as this because no other thing has ever had a 20-plus year setup. It's still sinking in for me. It still hasn't fully resonated.
And that's part of what's so amazing about it. Like, we were all so certain that Undertaker was going to win that match that we were already looking forward to the next year, like the potential match with Sting, that nobody really gave Brock Lesnar any credit. And for that to just turn around and the streak to be over like that, that's freaking insane.
Exactly, and when the whole match was going out, which I know, Ryan, you have a little an article you want to pull up in a couple of minutes, but the match, generally speaking, it was all right. There was nothing in particular that made you go, oh, so maybe there's a slight chance that Brock Lesnar will win. If anything, it was a very traditional, non-WrestleMania quality match in where it was simply the heel beating the face down, and then the face would do a couple things, but all of a sudden, it just ended.
It was a weird match because The Undertaker, for the first time in a very long time, The Undertaker seemed old in that match. He was kind of slouched and leaning up against the ropes a lot. He kind of had that faraway look. Now, it was because he had a concussion or whatever, but the Brock Lesnar seemed completely in control, but at the same time, it kind of fueled that whole, Undertaker's just gonna win thing. Because he'll just do some big comeback and then he'll just beat Brock Lesnar. But no.
Yeah, I agree. That match, I'll go a little further and say I straight up didn't really like that match that much at all. It was pretty much exactly what it was pretty much the exact opposite of what I thought that match was going to be. You and I talked about that match, Juan. We said the result would be predictable, but the match would be great.
Yeah.
But it was the exact opposite. The result couldn't be further from predictable, and the match was not that good. And I think Undertaker's age really showed in this, and also we did hear reports about him having a concussion. Nevertheless, I think his age still showed, concussion aside. And it doesn't help that Lesnar's not an easy guy to pick up and carry around, where he might have been able to hide that a little more facing CM Punk last year to be able to do some of his moves.
Before we go on to talking about the reasoning as to why the streak ended itself, I want to sort of go back a little bit and talk about the reaction that the crowd had. Because we will never have a unanimous moment where people just don't react. Because I don't know if you guys did the same thing. I went back and saw the ending of that match like 10 times today. And it was 1, 2, almost nobody said 3. Go back. Anybody do that. It's freaking amazing.
I did the same thing, and the first time it happened, it honest to God felt like time stood still the second you heard that third hit on the mat. Like it didn't seem as long as it was at the time, but when it happened, like I felt a pain in my tummy, and it hit me so hard, and time just stood still. Like, holy crap, did this actually just happen?
Exactly. I mean, I thought it was a botch when it first happened. I was like, did that really happen? Like, or is the ref going to reverse the decision, or what's going to happen? And like I said, like you guys, I did go back and watch it, and it's really true. Like, it felt like there was this long period of time where nothing happened, but watching it back, everything went really smoothly. Heyman came in the ring right away. The bell rang right away. They just delayed a little bit of time before they played the music, but it was just like in that moment, everything felt so much slower.
Yeah, but it says a lot of people mentioned on Twitter, nobody expected it because even the announcers weren't selling it. They were mentioning it was the third F5, but usually we hear, oh, this is the final one or something. But no, everybody from the announcers to the crowd, you could tell the crowd was like, he's just going to kick out of the third F5. It's WrestleMania. And another thing that I thought would mean that for sure he kicked out, the way Brock Lesnar covered him, you know how he got his legs all the way up? Usually in matches, that means that they're going to do like a power kick out or something, like they're going to kick out really hard. So I was like, there's no way. But then it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at my phone during that F5 because I was thinking the same thing, like, whatever, he's just going to kick out, same old story. And then I heard the third hit on the mat and, like, my neck just jerked right the hell up. Like, whoa, what?
And I think the greatest thing to really come out of this is how WWE made it seem like, wait, did that just happen? Number one, they didn't play Brock Lesnar's music until a long while after. They knew exactly how the crowd was going to play, and it takes, first of all, it takes balls to really end the streak. It really does. Analyze the whole thing. This is never going to happen again. Ever. In our lifetime, in our grandchildren's lifetime, it's never going to happen. So they knew how to play it right. The announcers, completely dumbfounded. They weren't even selling the power of Brock Lesnar. They became fans at that moment. Everybody turned into the little 7-year-old that saw Undertaker for the first time. And I mean, look at all that crowd. The same way that we talk about a unanimous crowd that supports Dana Bryan. These were people that even Brock Lesnar guy who was at WrestleMania was surprised and speechless that Brock Lesnar won. That's how you tell a freaking story.
You'd think you'd be happy about it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I want to sort of jump into this other thing, because at that moment, apparently people were like walking away. I went to my Facebook feed because, we were doing the whole tweeting during Mania, but I checked out my personal feed. I had people that hate wrestling, okay? Hate wrestling. They were to the point where they were referring to it as WWF, and they were just like, so Undertaker lost? I was like, holy shit. Okay, this just had a worldwide freaking impact. Like, the world is about to end or something, the apocalypse, because this happened. So with that being said, Ryan, I know you have that article that we all read. We retweeted it. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do. It's definitely a mind opener, so that's why I want to sort of open the floor for this.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of give you a brief excerpt from it. First of all, it's from the website cagesideseats.com, and the title is WWE has been telling us they were ending the streak this year. We just didn't want to see it. So that's the title if you want to look it up and read it for yourself. Here's the part I'm going to read it. It just says, think about it. Lesnar is perhaps the most credible opponent to challenge the streak who was given zero chance to win. Other guys were credible and we thought, maybe this is the year. Some guys were clearly not the guy, but they made us believe. There was always that one moment, that one magical near fall. Not this time, and looking back, it was obvious. The entire feud featured Undertaker getting the upper hand. He embarrassed Lesnar in their first encounter with the pen in the hand. He consistently won the Mind Games battle and got the better of the Beast physically until the go-home show where he ate the F5. And it goes on to quote things that Heyman had been hinting at, such as saying, you're getting old, you're getting tired, you've done this too long. This guy won 2 but never 3. 3 but never 4, 4 but never 5. Meanwhile, you've won 21 straight, basically saying at some point it's bound to happen. You're rolling the dice every time. And then, of course, Heyman himself saying Brock Lesnar winning this Sunday is a spoiler. And, of course, we're all just ignoring it because that's what we're trained to do. And he was right. So it's a great article. You should definitely read the full thing. I just want to give you guys a taste of it and sort of discuss how they did really hint that it was going to happen.
I think the most important thing to take out of this article and just the streak ending is that how many times do we not like the face, but we love the heel, right? And think about the logic. Everybody listening right now, the logic that we want Taker to lose to this guy. Throughout the whole time, we've been saying, oh, if he was to lose to somebody, it would have been Randy Orton. It would have been CM Punk. And doesn't that not make sense that we are seeing, oh, so that guy's going to beat the streak, but it's supposed to be a guy that we dislike. We're supposed to really get something out of it. Hatred, something as wrestling fans. We need to feel that emotion. So what better way of having it than a guy that we absolutely did not expect to win at all? We're thinking, oh, he's a part-timer. There's a million reasons why he should lose, but not one why he should win, except the one that matters the most. He is a legitimate threat.
See, I think everyone basically took their eye off the ball, and everyone was thinking, who can we elevate with the streak? Nobody thought WWE's side of, who could we surprise you guys the most with? Who could we shock you guys the most with? Who will everyone give zero chance and then we swerve them there when they least expect it?
But see, that's kind of the magic of why that combination was perfect for ending the streak, because they have that big swerve, but you also have to remember, it wasn't only Brock Lesnar that broke the streak. Paul Heyman also broke the streak with him, which means anybody that Paul Heyman associates himself with now is instantly legitimized because he's now managed by the manager that broke the streak. It's really the best of both worlds situation.
Now, I actually want to ask you guys something. Do you think that now that we've felt this, we know what it feels like to see The Undertaker lose at WrestleMania, do you think we would have reacted this same way, or in any way that would rival this reaction that we not only felt but saw, if it were CM Punk, if it were Randy Orton, if it was anybody that we supposedly want a Taker to lose to?
I think there still would be shock, no doubt. But this was the situation where everyone thought there's no way. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Brock Lesnar is a part-time guy. So they thought, oh, they'd never give that to the part-time guy. The guy only wrestles 5 matches a year, if that. So I think this is the most surprising they could have come up with. I think it still would have been shocking no matter who it was, but not as shocking as this.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's kind of what makes it magical. The fact that guys like CM Punk, like Triple H, like Shawn Michaels couldn't do it. And they all had that moment where we thought that they would. And then Brock Lesnar comes completely out of nowhere and just ends it.
And here's another thing that I was thinking about. How many times in these video packages do we see things at WrestleManias that have happened 10, 20 years before? And we've mentioned that the previous WrestleManias don't really have these moments. This right here beats out any other video package moment in the history of the WWE because it is completely organic. It demonstrates just how much people love the product.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to go into, whether or not Lesnar was the right choice or the wrong choice to be the guy to break the streak. And at first I was like, really, Lesnar of all people? Like, why couldn't you elevate someone or something like that? But the more I think about it, the more I think that Lesnar was the right choice, because if you gave it to someone like a Roman Reigns or any other type of up-and-coming superstar, that's a burden that they have to carry. It's a burden. It's not a benefit to them. They would be hated, and it's a lot to handle. And if it didn't work out for their push, well, then that's 21 years thrown in the garbage. I think that Lesnar was a great choice because even if Lesnar walked away now, the guy is established. He's had a lot of accolades in his career, and he's legitimate. The guy's a legitimate UFC champion, and it's a believable feat. And also that Lesnar can handle all that heat, and it won't plague his career like it could an up-and-coming superstar. So I really think it is a good choice to have Lesnar. And also, like you said about Heyman, he can use that as his legacy to help younger talent, and it's on him. It doesn't rest on the shoulders of a young wrestler.
Plus, not only that, no matter what that young guy would do with his career, he would always be the guy that ended the streak. He could go on to be a 15-time world heavyweight champion, but all he would be known for is that one time he broke the streak.
Exactly, and WWE doesn't run the risk of having some guy that breaks the streak and then he fizzles out and leaves the company or something like that. Because Lesnar, even if he left tomorrow, like I said, I think everything's still okay.
Well, certainly, and that's why on the Raw portion we'll be talking about the lead up to this, the next part, which obviously includes Cesaro. But after the situation that was the streak, a lot of people were worn out, and even though we're not going to talk about it, holy crap, the Divas had it bad. I mean, damn. How do you follow that? Yeah. But after that, we got the main event, which was the triple threat match, which was Randy Orton and Batista, and the winner of the match between Triple H and Daniel Bryan. And that match, I think at the beginning of the show, was a great match. It told a great story of the triumphant heel, corporate heel, and Daniel Bryan, who was definitely trying to fight the odds. He was victorious, beat Triple H cleanly in the middle of the ring, and had a great match.
In complete honesty, that match at the beginning of the show was my match of the night. Just everything worked so well for it. It was a nice technical match. Triple H brought out some of his old moves. They even had some weird callback to like WrestleMania 20, where Triple H put in like Daniel Bryan in the crossface and stuff like that. But Stephanie McMahon also brought so much to that match. There is just something about the way that they had the microphone set up around the ring and you could hear everything Stephanie was saying perfectly. It told a great story. That match really is what you could consider a total package.
I know, and talking about that Stephanie thing, the moment I saw her, I said to myself, vintage Stephanie, because they weren't the authority for that match. They were old school Triple H and Stephanie McMahon that we loved to hate way back in the day. And it was a great, what better way to start the show? How do you top that as a beginning? Because number one, you are getting rid of that worry that people have of, oh, maybe Triple H might win. Guess what? You have that excitement that you know Daniel Bryan won for the rest of the show. And guess when the next match is at the end of the show. And considering you have the streak situation, you had that time to heal over, and you still got that happy ending with Bryan. So it was a perfect balance, and there couldn't have been a better choice for the first match.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think another thing that sort of gave this a WrestleMania feel is with this Daniel Bryan opening match and him being in the main event, you sort of got this overarching storyline going over the entire WrestleMania. So it made it feel more than just a series of matches, that there was a story to be told throughout the entire show. And that's what I really liked about it. And also, how you were saying it's sort of called back to WrestleMania 20. It's like we also got this callback to WrestleMania 10 of him being sort of Bret Hart, doing two matches in one show. And it also was, they actually made callbacks to WrestleMania 1, 10, and 20, I guess you could say, because then there was that brief segment of the first main event of WrestleMania. But that aside.
Yeah, plus it kind of broke the whole pay-per-view mold, because usually you expect that match later on. Like, the average pay-per-view is like, okay, we're getting all the small matches out of the way first, but no, boom, we're starting it off with a showstopper, and then we're just gonna keep riding high from there. I think that really helped make WrestleMania 30 feel as big as it really did.
And having said that, so we get to the main event match itself, which had a lot of controversial moments with, like Triple H coming out, all sorts of things broke out, but what matters is that even though The Undertaker lost a streak, we got a winner in Daniel Bryan, which I myself was, I think, the only one of the three of us that was actually going directly towards Daniel Bryan going for the win. You guys were more, even though I know you wanted him to win, you were more thinking of the outcome of the storyline. And hey, I got my thing. I'm happy. How are you guys?
Talk about bittersweet to the absolute extreme. The night that we get Daniel Bryan winning his title is the night that the streak ends. It's so beautiful, but painful at the same time.
To give a life, you have to take a life.
Yes, we couldn't have the Daniel Bryan victory without sacrificing something, but that's what just made this show overall exciting. And to have Bryan win, that's what I wanted. My prediction was Batista, and I nearly thought he was gonna do it when Batista threw Bryan out of the ring and went for the cover on Orton. I really thought that was gonna be it right then and there. So it was great. And that match, I actually am picking the main event match as my match of the night, because that really just felt like, that was the one where I wasn't so sure who was going to win, and it was very exciting to me, and holy hell, that announcer table spot was just insane.
Yeah,
no kidding. Kudos to Randy Orton, much respect. That was one of the sickest, worst falls I've ever seen, and then he just shrugged it off and went on with the match.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not an easy spot to do, because usually when you see those catching spots, the guy that's supposed to catch, the guy being powerbombed, is all the way down at the bottom. Like, they don't count it right, so he really just grabs him. But it was perfect. It just made the entire match really come together.
For a double team move, Randy Orton sure got the short end of that one, huh?
Yeah.
So speaking of WrestleMania callbacks, did you guys find the ending of that match eerily similar to the same way that WrestleMania 20 ended with I guess Batista in this case in a submission hold that's really, really close to the crossface and tapping out? Then we get the huge celebration at the end.
That was also immediately my thought. And it's a very similar submission move too. So how could you not think of that? And it also being a triple threat match. So everything was there for that.
Not only that, but somebody came out from nowhere to celebrate with Daniel Bryan, and there's confetti and happiness everywhere.
I really hope that's where all the similarities end. Please. I mean, we're talking, please, man. Let's end it there. No, but really, it was such a great end, and just the people were so excited, and I think WrestleMania as a whole, we continuously saw this throughout the matches. I mean, the next one we're going to be talking about is Bray Wyatt versus John Cena, which once again, there was such a heavy emphasis on storyline-based wrestling. I think all of these matches, generally as a whole, they weren't wrestling matches where, you need the context. There is a payoff for each and every one of these matches. And I think for Bray Wyatt and John Cena, a lot of people were expecting Bray Wyatt to come out with the win. I myself was in that boat. Ryan, I know you were on the other side of the fence, and you were right in the fact that John Cena was actually declared the winner. But what did you think about the moments that happened in this match? And I won't bring up one in particular because there were a lot of them, but that it just told a great story.
We need to make a quick note here. That's two predictions that you've shortened me on now. I predicted D-Bry would win, and I said that Cena would win. Give me my freaking credit.
Well, I didn't hear you in the previous episode. I read you, but your essence wasn't there, man.
Yeah. So I was inside your mind. You were saying my words.
As long as it's inside my mind, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'll go inside somewhere else later. But anyway, I thought that match was everything that it needed to be. Bray Wyatt didn't need to win that match. That match still made Bray Wyatt, even though he didn't come out with the win. He told the great story that he needed to tell. Everything was on. The whole Cena getting mad and then all of a sudden just dropping the rage completely thing was a little bit weird, but whatever.
I completely agree, and I'm also just going to quickly touch on Juan's point where we didn't really get a 5-star classic at this show, and it really was a storytelling type of WrestleMania. That being said, pretty much every match had something to offer and was fun to watch. It's the same case with this match. And like you said, Bray Wyatt didn't need to win this match. He's already main eventing WrestleMania against John Cena. You can't really expect him to sort of accomplish everything so quickly. So this sort of leaves something for Bray Wyatt to, it still leaves a hill to climb.
Mm-hmm. The whole point of that match was for Bray Wyatt to get over. And Bray Wyatt had the crowd swaying back and forth, singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands." Like, how much more over can you get than that?
Exactly. I think that was the most important thing of not just this match, but the show. Everybody knew who the guys were in each match. Like Dana Bryan, yes. Bray Wyatt, all his mannerisms to going along with his entrance theme, to Fandango and the Battle Royal, bringing Fandango back. People knew what they were getting themselves into, as opposed to having the usual thing where, you just go there for the spectacle. They were there for the spectacle and the story. And I think that, yeah, absolutely, Bray Wyatt could not look any better in that match. Although, one nitpick, and it's not from the match, but it's from the show itself, people piss me off sometimes. I'm sorry. I know that some people that may be watching are probably going to agree, but we got Dana Bryan winning, okay? We got the streak ending. We got so many things, but when Cena wins, it's always Cena wins low. Cena wins low. Like, look at the bigger picture. If you analyze WrestleMania 30 and Raw, we're in a great track. I think that we are in for one of the biggest years in the WWE, not just because it was a great WrestleMania and a great Raw, but all the seeds are being planted. So yeah, maybe Cena won. Maybe Cena wins low. Whatever. Think about the bigger picture, and Bray Wyatt, as you both mentioned, he's a made man.
Yeah, think about who didn't win at WrestleMania. Triple H didn't win. Kane didn't win. The Undertaker didn't win. Daniel Bryan won. The Shield won. Cesaro won. It definitely feels like everything's starting to shift, and the old guard is moving aside.
Yeah, and the Cesaro thing, we'll certainly be talking about that on the Raw portion, but as we saw in the WrestleMania pre-show, he pretty much split from Jack Swagger after the tag match, as I think pretty much everybody expected. He won the Battle Royal, but because of so many things happened with Cesaro at Raw, we're going to be leaving that after Keith's Tweet of the Week. So, as we sort of closed out WrestleMania, just how do you feel as a fan? As a network watcher, at least for me, I want to give a quick note. Kudos to the WWE, because I suffered next to no issues using the WWE Network during WrestleMania. The Dana Bryan Triple H match, not one skip, not a single one. So it was great that it worked, and I was certainly happy. I know a couple of people had issues, but I thought it was going to be an apocalypse, and it clearly wasn't. So overall, what are your thoughts on the crowd reaction? And I'm speaking in Twitter, social media, live, and just you coming off of that show. How excited are you for what's to come?
I think in a couple years, we're going to look back and say that WrestleMania 30 is one of the most important WrestleManias in history. It's kind of where everything changed, and it's a big reset button, to use the past WrestleMania analogies again. It was where it all began again.
I think this definitely, of the landmark WrestleManias 10, 20, 30, this one is easily the best of those. And I agree, this really is the start of something fresh and something new, and what better way than to have someone like Daniel Bryan win the championship and sort of usher this era in. So it is it will be looked back as a very important WrestleMania and one of the best, I would say, in the top 5 for sure, maybe even the top 3. Just quick side note, and this may be a little controversial, I guess, or an unpopular opinion, but my least favorite match of that show, aside from the ending, probably was Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. I almost like the Divas match more, alright?
No,
just putting that out there.
I'll agree. I mean, I don't think we'll get too deep into this right now, but it was a match where the ending was so good because it was so bad, considering, you as a fan, how you feel about it, that the match doesn't matter. What matters is that it ended and what happened that led to that.
Yeah, I think the best way to summarize that match was it was a very subpar match that ended with a moment that will live forever.
Exactly, and it's kind of sad that that's probably going to be The Undertaker's last match, but either way, the guy's such a legend that, he's old, he tried, and he had a freaking concussion, so I'll give him a pass.
And remember the article that Ryan mentioned? Certainly go check that out, because they also go into the psychology of why this match was the way it was, considering Undertaker's age, Paul Heyman making reference to the fact that he's getting older. So if you read that, it really opens you up, and it's really nice to always get a different perspective, because we're really used to the hive mind, and this really changes things. But going back to the hive mind, I think it's time for this week's Tweet of the Week! Tweet of the Week!
That's right. It's money shot time, baby, because it's Tweet of the Week. Now, this Tweet of the Week is brought to you by Big Danny Cool on Twitter. That's at Glaslow Dan. Now, this Tweet of the Week kind of goes into a bit of the psychology behind the 6-man tag at WrestleMania between The Shield and Kane and the New Age Outlaws. So this week's Tweet of the Week is, Kane was alright with The Shield messing with him, but then they crossed the line when they ended the storied career of Mr. Ass.
Thank you, Keith, for that incredible Tweet of the Week. And hey, welcome back. Although I gotta say, Ryan, you did a pretty good job last week. I listened to the show back, and hey, you're pretty good, man. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. But coming off of WrestleMania, we are going to be talking about Raw, but something that happened before the grandest stage of them all was the Hall of Fame. So we do want to dedicate just a couple of minutes because we have a lot to talk about. But the Hall of Fame happened on the network. It wasn't nearly as good as WrestleMania stream, oddly enough. But a lot of things happened, so Razor Ramon got inducted. But the one thing that I do want to dedicate a couple of minutes to is Jake the Snake Roberts' speech. Wow. I mean, I'll admit, there were some fluid, about to pour down my face.
You were leaking.
Really? Really? Which, what kind of fluid?
Of the tear kind. I will clarify, of the tear kind. Of the kind that comes from my body. Oh, God, no.
Were they penis tears?
God damn.
Well, first of all, before I speak about the Hall of Fame, I would like to actually dedicate this segment to my mother. Because, she raised me right, I didn't get into any drugs even though I grew up in that, it was all about my mother. But Jake the Snake's speech was the absolute highlight, in every way possible, because first of all, he didn't go on too long. He wasn't long-winded like everybody else's, and his speech really came from the heart, and we know his journey. We've all followed his journey the past 18 months with DDP, and we've known everything that Jake's been through. I mean, just watch Beyond the Mat and see how messed up his life was before
Totally.
DDP came into his life. So that was the speech I wanted to see. That was the highlight, without a doubt.
Yeah, we can't iterate it enough. If you haven't seen that speech, just pause this podcast and go listen to it or watch it, whatever you need to do. It's crazy. The one moment that hit me the most is when he's like, I'd love to play, but I just can't anymore. That some fluid leaked out of my face as well, too. It was just amazing.
Did you smoke a cigarette after that? No, but yeah, that was certainly powerful. Man, this is a very contrasting reaction to what we're talking about. No, but the one thing to get out of that is that how often do people give a wrestler "you still got a" chant, and they just take it in. They're just like, you know what, I do, man, I do. Even if they know deep down inside they don't. And especially in the Hall of Fame, you would think a wrestler would just accept it, but Jake took it personal. Because you could tell he freaking lives wrestling. And there are so many moments where you can just tell that. So seriously, check that out if you're a wrestling fan. Or I think the curious thing would be, show this to somebody that thinks wrestling is fake. Have them hear Jake the Snake's story. And then ask them again, do you think wrestling's fake? Because look at the shit that this guy has gone through. This guy shouldn't even be alive. He says that, And I applaud Jake the Snake for having the guts to go out there, tell his story like it is instead of sugarcoating it because it was the Hall of Fame.
His mama would be proud.
Mother,
Something urinary tract infection.
I just had... What?
Didn't Mr. T talk about, like, his mother's urinary tract or something during his speech?
Yeah, she did.
All right.
Moving on. Also check that out. Also look up the remix of Ethan Carter III meets Mr. T. You can already listen to it in your head just by me saying that. It's amazing. Check it out. So as we go into Raw, the biggest Raw of the year, which we always expect, the Mania after WrestleMania, I think this Raw easily one of the best Raws of all time.
Smarkamania.
Yeah, Smarkamania running wild, brother. We started off the show immediately with Daniel Bryan. They wasted no time at all. We got a lot of surprises, too, throughout the show, which we'll be talking about right now. But that reaction at what?
Did you pull a Dusty Rhodes for a second? If you will, but the wasted no time.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like, they wasted no time.
Okay. See, this is a moment where if we were a video podcast, it would be a lot funnier. But apparently, I channel my inner Dusty Rhodes. So, if you will, so let me tell you something. We got Dana Bryan opening the show, baby. So, man, just why don't you guys talk? You know what? I'm freaking just go, Ryan. Beginning of Raw. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, it was good. It was pretty good. No, I liked the crowd was awesome, and they made this show as expected. That post-Mania Raw crowd is always the best crowd of the year, and the cheers and respect that they gave to Daniel Bryan was just awesome. They did not want to stop cheering for him, and to see literally 100% of the crowd doing the yes chant, saying you deserve it, all these great chants. That's what made this segment awesome, because it felt like, everybody had finally achieved their goal. Daniel Bryan is champion, and we can all just celebrate, and that's why it was an awesome moment.
So after the amazing opening with Daniel Bryan and all that, I think the other thing to note from this show is just how many things happened that we didn't really expect. I mean, the post-Mania Raw always has its couple of surprises, but not to this extent. NXT pretty much invaded the damn show. If you think about the fact that we got an Adam Rose vignette, we got a Bo Dallas vignette, and hello, Paige is our new Divas champion. So I want to talk about these things. Going first, Adam Rose. That to me was really unexpected, considering, for those that don't watch NXT, this guy just recently got this gimmick change on television. He's been Adam Rose for a little while in live events, but then all of a sudden, boom, he gets called up. So what was your reaction, guys, to this, considering we've been marking out over this guy a little bit, and now he's going to make it to the big show?
Yeah, it's a huge surprise, because the guy literally just got this gimmick change and has had like 2 matches on NXT, I think. But we know this guy can go, because we've seen him for quite some time as Leo Kruger. So we're not doubting his wrestling ability. It's just surprising because the gimmick is so new. But I think it's awesome. And I think, we're probably going to see these vignettes for at least a few months before he actually debuts. But I'm excited because I know it's pretty much he's just Russell Brand from Get Him to the Greek, but regardless, it still looks like it's going to be just a really fun gimmick to watch.
I'm really interested to see how it goes because there's never really been anything like that in the WWE. So just watching if it's going to sink or if it's going to swim is going to be interesting in itself. The thing that I'm really wondering about is, though, do all of those groupies get a contract? Or, like, how does that work?
Now, obviously, they're going to be extras or wrestlers that are backstage or something, so I don't think that's a problem.
My only guess would be there's a lot of developmental talent that isn't on NXT TV, so I'm guessing they're just going to use whoever those people are. Or you could always just get how they did with enhancement talent, just local talent from the area. They don't need the same consistent people every time to be these party people, so they can just grab whoever in any local town.
Quick note, it's going to be interesting how they differentiate 3MB from Adam Rose, because even though they seem to have different gimmicks, 3MB is a band, we've just never seen them in a band. And Adam Rose, he's a party guy, but unless we always see that, when the moment they get to the ring, they're going to have that a slightly similar character, I think, to the casual audience, but maybe that's just me.
Did they actually outright say he was a musician or something? Or are they just saying he's like a rock star? Or is he just a party guy?
Yeah, he's just a party guy.
I don't know if they've outright said they haven't said he's like a lead singer in a band or anything like that, have they?
I don't think so. Just
even
a party
in NXT,
guy that likes rabbits. Because they hop.
Really?
Like him.
Oh, man. So, moving on to the next guy. Man, this is going to be so interesting.
It's unbelievable.
I can't wait.
Yeah, talk about unexpected.
So excited.
It seems like they're going to take Bo Dallas's current NXT gimmick and just race it through the roof. I mean, look at that vignette. We almost saw no Bo Dallas, and when we did, we actually saw a repackaged footage of old, more serious Bo Dallas. But then as we see like a dog, we see like couples. It's like, what?
I almost think it looks like they might put a certain twist on his gimmick where he's almost like a motivational speaker or something like that. But either way, Bo Dallas is the one I'm least worried about getting over because it is not hard for that man to generate heat. He's just going to put that smile on and act like everybody loves him and everyone will hate him.
I'm going to make a statement right now, is that maybe around this time next year, Bo Dallas is going to be one of the biggest heels in the WWE. He's just so good at playing that character. You just want to... I love Bo Dallas, but I love to hate Bo Dallas, and that's why I'm so excited for him to jump up to this next stage and just shine.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see, but these are two vignettes. So we saw video packages. But switching over to the Divas side, on WrestleMania, AJ retained in what was actually a halfway decent match considering what we were all expecting to see. But then out of nowhere, we got a certain familiar theme playing in the background if you watch NXT, and it's NXT Women's Champion Paige coming down to the ring. She talks over with AJ. They have a match, and boom, out of nowhere, we have a new Divas champion. So what was your reaction the moment you heard Paige's theme? Because I know we all watch NXT, so we knew it was her right off the bat.
I marked the hell out because actually I don't really know her theme quite well, so I heard that sort of screech, and I didn't know it was her until I saw the little P logo or whatever on the Titantron, and she walked out. Yeah, I know P. I said P. But when she walked out, I was just like, oh shit, like, it's going down. And it made sense. AJ just defeated every single diva on the roster. So it was cool to bring out somebody new. And it was just an awesome segment. My only complaint is that Paige wasn't exactly herself. She wasn't being this confident diva that was I expected her to kind of come out and be like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Exactly, which actually leads to a pretty good question for the show from friend of the show, Roach McPoach, and he asks, what do you think of WWE changing guys like Big E and divas like Paige? I miss Big E doing the 5 count moment, and Paige came out like the 1, 2, 3 character. And I think almost everybody that watches NXT felt the same way. Because when I watched it, I'm like, that's not Paige. It looks like Paige, and she has the same name, but it was really weird.
Yeah, but they're two very different products. Like, think about like NXT as the small pond and WWE as the big pond. Paige is the big fish in the small pond there. Now all of a sudden she's moving up to the WWE, and now she's just the small dot in the big spectrum, or the small fish. So the whole timid thing worked, in my opinion, and then her actions spoke for her. So now maybe moving forward, she'll go back to that, like, I'm gonna beat your ass 'cause I'm Paige thing.
I think Paige wasn't really being herself in this segment. She was playing the role for the segment. She wasn't actually being her character. She had to act like that to sell the segment because they wanted this to be a shock that she would beat AJ. So she had to sort of act nervous and not ready. So it was really unexpected when all of a sudden she gets the pin and just wins it out of nowhere. Whereas if she kind of came in and was going to whip some ass, it may not have sold the shock of it, I guess.
I'm still going to go ahead and disagree really with how it felt, because one thing that she did have going is, much like when CM Punk debuted in ECW, it was with a crowd that appreciated her. So the moment she came out, I mean, definitely, if you're somebody that doesn't watch NXT, but you watch that crowd's reaction, you think to yourself, okay, I got to look this Paige up, because, I mean, apparently she's pretty good. Look at how people are reacting to her. But I think first impressions are really important. And when we watch Paige on NXT, the reason she's gotten over is because she's all this nonsense anti-diva person. I can bring up an example of the Wyatt family, how they were transitioned to the WWE, and even though they were changed, they were still the Wyatts, just a little different. But with this, it was like a complete switch.
Like I said, I think she was just playing into that particular segment, and also the whole anti-diva thing. AJ's really not the best person to start that off with. I mean, it would have worked out so much better if someone like Nikki Bella or somebody like that was Divas champion, because then really Paige could really kind of come out, stand next to her and be like, I'm the anti-diva, and you see that contrast between the two of them. But I still hold out hope that she's going to have her confidence and play more of the character she was in NXT as time moves on.
Yeah. Do you guys think that they kind of shows how much faith they have in the Divas division right now? For the fact that the whole roster couldn't beat AJ in a match, and then Paige comes along and then just wins the title.
Roach McPoach mentioned two people in this question, and I think this pretty much answers your question. What happened, as Ryan mentioned, when Big E won the title? We were like, yes, so this is it. Now the IC title is going to mean something, and then he's going to be in the Battle Royal, and then completely forgotten about he's a sidekick. Even though, I mean, yeah, he tag teamed with Cena, but what's he up to? So I think this is mostly a shock factor to see how the people react. But based on history has a tendency of repeating itself, so I'm not too faithful of WWE successfully following this, but it's simply because of how they've treated the Divas division, not the women's division from NXT, because there is a tremendous difference on how they handle that. Quick thing, though, to answer Roach McPoach's second part, which he was talking about Big E, do you think that this hurts them in the long run, taking away, like Big E with the 5 count and Paige with that attitude? Of course, it's been only one show, but does that hurt them in the long run, removing that, even if it's for just a show?
This could have hurt Paige's debut. I don't think it was maybe the best way to go about it, because when you win the title your first night, the only place you can go is down, really. Unless she's going to have some insanely long title reign, but I honestly don't see that happening. They kind of gave her a fluky win. It wasn't like she got to actually show off her ability. But I'm expecting to see that as time goes on. Like I said earlier, she was playing the role of one segment. I think she's going to be her character. Now, just to get into the Big E thing real quick, I agree. They could have had something if they did the 5 count thing. I'm still holding out hope that it happens at some point. They really could have done it with the Intercontinental title. He could have defended in 5 count matches or something like that. But they still can always take that out of their back pocket.
The characters that we love the most are the ones that evolve over time. So I think this, like, by slowly changing them up, it gives them room to evolve a little more Like, for people that don't know Paige, they'll see her potentially become this more and more confident champion or confident Divas wrestler as time goes on.
Isn't it weird, though, that we have the WWE Network, so anybody that watch WrestleMania can watch NXT, look at Paige, and then look at Paige on Raw and be like, wait, whoa, what? So that's not the same person. That's the thing that bugs me. It's when you have both things equally as accessible. You can watch WrestleMania 30 or NXT on the same thing. All it takes is a couple clicks. How does that make sense?
That is a good point. And it's just like, when she came out, it's just like you wanted to get behind her. You wanted her to be tough and everything. How much cooler would it have been if she came out and said, and AJ's just like, why are you here? And she's just like, I'm here because I want that. And then, beats the hell out of her, something like that. It would be way better. She doesn't even have to win the title. I would actually rather she don't win the title. But, like we said, it's one segment. We've got plenty of time to see how it pans out. So we could all be wrong in the end. We've certainly been wrong before.
And quick fun little fact to end the segment here. Paige is the first person on the active roster born in the 90s to win a title. Found that out this morning.
Huh. Well, yeah, it's getting to the point we are wrestling fans, and the wrestlers that we like.
What have you done with your life, basically?
Yeah,
our age.
exactly.
Like, Emma is only a year older than me. It's things like that where I'm like, crap, we are within that age range now. That's freaking crazy. On a side note, another guy that came back, at least for me, Rob Van Dam came back with a quick squash match on Sandow. Just a quick comment. Are we getting anything out of this, or was it just a one-time thing?
I'm guessing he's back for a short stint. He'll have some good matches. I don't really know what to expect. Hopefully he just has some good pay-per-view matches.
I was reading on the dirt sheets that he's going to be back till around SummerSlam, but that doesn't seem long enough for them to put any faith in RVD, so yeah, he'll come back, have a couple good matches, go away again, then it'll just repeat itself over and over, so welcome back, RVD, don't really care.
As we end with the surprises, one guy that we knew was going to debut is Alexander Rusev. He took on Long Island IC Zack Ryder in his last resort. He continues to yet lose many more matches and many more to come. But we got to see both Lana and Alexander Rusev. So right off the bat, Ryan, you got to see your girlfriend. So you happy about that?
I thought it was a good debut. Rusev showed off his power. There's not a lot to say. I think Lana is a good manager. She doesn't even have to say a lot, and her facial expressions really sell the whole thing. And one quick thing I thought about, and talk about it if you want, don't if you don't want to, but I think it would be interesting if Lana was sort of the one who was, obviously she's the one in control. It'd be interesting if she is the one who sort of is the mind behind it all and the one who gets into feuds and sort of uses Rusev as sort of a tool for that. So you could even see her feuding with guys and using sort of Rusev as a means to defeat them. I don't know, just some weird thing I was thinking about, something a little different, but you guys have your thoughts.
Yeah, that would actually be really interesting to see. I never even really thought of that. It would add a whole new perspective to feuds, not just Rusev be another big guy. But on the opposite side of this debut, think about how hard Zack Ryder just got buried. It was just one line from JBL that basically took this whole last resort thing and threw it right out the freaking window. And that line is, I can't wait until somebody comes along that's able to test Rusev. Like, you basically just took Zack Ryder and threw him in the garbage can with that line.
Although, quick side note, remember those reports that we've been hearing about Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler, and The Miz forming some kind of group? They actually had a backstage segment together for WWE.com. I don't know if you guys knew about that. If not, check it out. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I did not know about that.
They didn't really plant any seeds or something. I'm talking about fluids. What is going on today? But it was basically a segment of Dolph Ziggler talking, then Zack Ryder came in, then The Miz, and nothing came out of it. But I just thought that out of anybody in the roster, you put those three guys who we happen to be hearing about, I certainly think something's going to go down. And man, they had a pretty good chemistry. So check that out. I'd love to talk about that on next week's episode. But yeah, so Alexander Rusev, he's here. I think that Lana thing would be awesome, and especially considering we have so many managers now, in a really good spotlight with Zeb Coulter, Paul Heyman, and now Lana. It would be a good way to not just make her another manager, but make somebody that manages somebody, but she's the one. She's still the one for the working man. She's the working woman.
CougarLife.com.
Exactly. So, having said that, talking about managers, Cesaro split from not only Jack Swagger, but as we found out on Raw, he split from Zeb Coulter in the most awesome way. There's something about the way Cesaro talks. He's confident. I love the confidence when he talks. And then he just says, I'm not a Zeb Coulter guy. And everybody at that point pretty much knows what's going to happen. Because, I mean, he says that. But then he just points to the stage and says, I am a Paul Heyman guy. And everybody's like, what? But we like you. But then you're with Paul Heyman, who, Brock Lesnar, what is going on? I loved it, man. It was such a fun Raw. What did you guys think of that?
Well, only a smarky crowd would boo the hell out of Paul Heyman during the Streak segment. Then when his name's called during the Cesaro segment, are popping and going crazy, where it's like now Heyman's sort of a face manager and a heel manager, and it's really weird. But nevertheless, I'm really excited because I hope that this is a Paul Heyman guy that really works out.
Yeah, and going back to what we were talking about earlier about anybody who Paul Heyman's with is instantly legitimized, this could be an amazing thing because Cesaro could totally fit that mold. This could easily bring Cesaro up to that next level that we all want to see him at.
Sorry, Curtis Axel.
We've also learned, though, that, that Paul Heyman doesn't, he's not perfect. So we learned that it didn't really work out with Ryback and Curtis Axel, but I think we can all agree that we all see something more in Cesaro than we did in those other two jabronis. But yeah, I'm pumped, and I like that they're starting off with this feud with Swagger because we know these guys can go and have a great match, and we have the whole Heyman versus Zeb Coulter dynamic, which I'm hoping there's promos galore because that will be amazing.
And think about the hype that's going on behind Cesaro right now. I mean, that's the body slam at WrestleMania. A lot of people were saying, and I'll agree, it was more powerful than Hulk Hogan's. I mean, he not only lifted Big Show, he walked forward and put him over the ropes. Think about just wow. I mean, this guy has everything, and now he's with Paul Heyman, and they have such a great chemistry because, once again, after all, they have even more stuff for WWE.com, and one of those things, I think it's also available on their YouTube channel, is an interview with Paul Heyman and Cesaro, and man, they just click. It's just one of those things where you look at that, and you can tell they're going to go far. Because I did not feel that for Ryback or Curtis Axel. This is going to be off the hook. I'm personally really, really happy that we're seeing so many managers now have a spotlight, not just be another manager, but being the manager involved in a storyline. As we reach the end, we do need to talk about three men that had a pretty good performance on WrestleMania, as Keith mentioned in the tweet of the week. And they also had a revelation on Raw as they officially turned on the Authority and Triple H when they were supposed to beat Daniel Bryan down at the main event. I think everybody pretty much expected this at this point. I thought it was interesting that that's how they ended Raw, considering, at least for me, it was obvious that they were against the Authority. Am I wrong in thinking this?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much already thought they were officially face, but I guess they were feuding with Kane. They hadn't quite turned on Triple H yet. But I'm sure all of us feared during that brief moments of that WWE World Heavyweight Championship match that, oh my God, they're going to put the title on Triple H. before Bryan's even had a chance to have it. So that fear was real. I think we all expected the Shield to come out and make the save, but you didn't know if it was going to be after the fact or not.
It's one of those little things that makes the storytelling in WWE so great. That those couple of minutes that they just let the whole Shield thing hang there. It was after the bell, you started to wonder, oh God, are they not coming out? Another point, who do you think played Call of Duty Ghosts over WrestleMania weekend that the Shield ended up with those masks on their face?
I think they look cool, but to me, I think that's exactly what you just said right now is why they put it on. Why? Because maybe there's some kids or something. Because, I mean, we know the women love the working man and they love the Shield. But maybe not so much of the kids. I don't know. I'm not 7. But I think that a lot of kids, even though it's rated M for mature, love to play that Call of Duty. And having something that they familiarize with, that they know, helps them appreciate those guys. And you just saying that, I think, pretty much proved that to be true. I'm not saying you're 7, Keith. I'm just saying it's a good idea.
Yeah, and after all that fluid talk that you've been doing, I hope to God you're not 7. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy that the Shield is still together. This might give us a couple more months of the Shield being together. They'll have probably a decent face run, maybe go against like Evolution, and then just split up and do their own thing.
Well, that was exactly what I was actually going to ask you guys. So 2 questions, I guess. 2-parter. 1, 2. 2 parts. Yes, just how many? Hey guys, how many parts?
4.
3?
All right,
7.
You guys suck. Anyway, I don't know why I kept going with that, but so do you think this is going to lead to Evolution versus the Shield? And if so, where does that leave Bryan? Who would he defend the title against? Because that kind of takes all the contenders out of the picture.
I think that it's going to be Randy Orton, Batista, and Kane against the Shield, and then they'll start building towards Triple H and Bryan at Extreme Rules. That's the way I see it going.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that it looks pretty good. Although, personally, I'm pumped for that Evolution thing because it's, once again, history has a tendency of repeating itself. And now we're getting these guys who at first were not getting along because they were all chasing after the title. But now that none of them have it, they might as well just team up and try to take down the guy. Oddly enough, when they were the Authority and they were trying to be taken on by Daniel Bryan.
Plus, it just goes perfectly into this overarching story that's going on in the WWE right now of the old guard versus the new guard and all these new guys coming up and getting the spotlight. You have the Shield going against Evolution, who was basically in the Shield spot around this time back then. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, hey, WrestleMania 20, what do we talk about? What happened with Evolution? They took on The Rock and Mankind. And now look at where we're at. You know, they are the established guys, and then the Shield are the up-and-comers. So it's really nice to see the passing of the torch not just happen with guys like Hulk Hogan or something, but with, oddly enough, guys like Randy Orton and Batista. Man, we have been watching wrestling for a good
WrestleMania 20
We're
match.
old.
I guess in that
We're old.
WrestleMania 20 match, Ric Flair was part of the new guard.
Yeah.
He was the wrestling manager, I guess you could say, just to justify that. And so my point's still right, damn it.
We know what you meant.
Yeah, I love you guys. So, based on all this, I think this has easily been our thickest episode. Okay.
God,
No, just go with that. Just go with that.
Oh, man, what is wrong with me?
Just go with it. Just go.
Okay, so...
what do you have on your brain?
Having said that, based on the fluidness and the thickness of these mentions, how much are you looking forward to the rest of the year? Last year, we had this exact same train of thought. You know, the Mania after WrestleMania. Raw was amazing. We saw the absolute continuing of the Yes movement. But now we have not just the Yes movement equivalent this year. We have so many things. We have the Shield. We have the Wyatt family. We have Daniel Bryan moving further. We have the NXT guys being called up. Do you think this is going to maintain something until SummerSlam? Or do you think that this is temporary WrestleMania season and then we're going to sort of go back to not so great moments we've mentioned in the past.
It just sets up that great baseline for the rest of the year. Like, this year is going to be a huge year in developing how the WWE moves forward. You're going to have a ton of guys come up and start building careers for themselves, while those guys that are currently being established just keep moving up and up and up, and the guys at the top start kind of slowly fading away. I think it sets the stage for this year to be a great year of progress, and honestly, if this is what the rest of the year is going to be like, it's going to be great.
I fully expect things to stay pretty hot until SummerSlam. I think we're going to get a lot of parallels of last year, where we're probably going to have that sort of slump in the fall where we might lose some momentum, but then things pick up for WrestleMania season. But they got a lot to move forward with right now. Maybe this is a question for another time, but we've got sort of all the top guys and the old talent who are saying is sort of shifting away, while these new talents like the Wyatt family and the Shield and Daniel Bryan sort of set themselves up in this position. Where does that leave guys like, say Cody Rhodes? And maybe that's something we can talk about next week.
Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that next week, and I got another challenge for you guys, and I think listeners will like this. For next week, Daniel Bryan, we were worried that if he became champion of WrestleMania, the Yes movement was going to slowly die down. Kind of like when CM Punk, he had to turn heel to get himself back up. So next week, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you just mentioned, because that's where we're going. We have our Yes champion. The Yes movement technically achieved its goal. Now what's next? Now what's going to happen? Is it going to heat up? Is it going to be even better? Or is it going to cool down? You'll have to wait till next week to find
out. Take us home, Ryan.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Byte That, the extra thick edition. There was so much material to cover that we probably went just a little bit longer than we usually do, but that's okay because just so much happened this week. It was a very exciting week. So remember to follow us on Twitter. We tweet during Raw, we tweet during pay-per-views, and we always have some exciting things to say, as well as we keep our eye out for that tweet of the week, so make sure to interact with us. Also,
hey,
subscribe
Ryan.
To our YouTube channel.
Ryan.
Yes?
I was reading the dirt sheets, and I saw an article that you have a new show coming up?
Do I? Oh yeah, I do. That's right. Since, as you can see from an episode like this where there's so much to cover, and, articles come out a little bit later in the week where we don't necessarily get to address them, I am debuting a new show. It's going to be up this Saturday, and it's called The Weekly Filler. And that's because we like to go over some of the, I'm going to go over some of the articles in which were interesting from the week that, I'll give my thoughts on, because sometimes we'll do the show and then literally a few hours later this awesome news story comes up and then we don't always get to address it. So I'm going to address a few articles every week, so make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast, and subscribe so that you can see when that episode's up on Saturday, as well as many other things that we post. We put the full episodes of Byte That on there, as well as show clips. Our top 10 WrestleMania moments are up there, so make sure to check that out, as well as find us on iTunes and Stitcher by searching Byte That, and subscribe to those as well, so on your little mobile device when the show's up, you got it, baby. And hey, if you listen on either of those channels, make sure to write us a review for that, because that really goes a long way for us and we'd really appreciate it. With all that being said, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Fluid poured down my face. It comes from my body. Oh God, no.